In this podcast episode, Dr. Diane Hennessy, a neuropsychiatrist and consciousness researcher, discusses her pioneering work on telepathy, precognition, and savant abilities, particularly within the non-speaking autistic community. The conversation explores how these abilities challenge conventional understandings of the brain, consciousness, and reality. Dr. Hennessy shares her journey from traditional neuroscience training to investigating the intersection of quantum physics, brain function, and human connectivity. The episode also delves into the scientific methods used to study telepathic communication, the role of gut health in neurological function, and the broader implications of these findings for humanity's understanding of consciousness and interconnectedness. Dr. Hennessy recounts her medical training and initial skepticism about phenomena like telepathy and psychic experiences. While working as an attending psychiatrist at Harvard, an encounter with a psychic patient who accurately described deeply personal details sparked her interest in exploring these unusual abilities scientifically. This experience served as a catalyst, pushing her beyond conventional psychiatry to pursue rigorous research into what mainstream science often dismisses as hallucination or psychosis. She emphasizes the importance of approaching such phenomena with curiosity and an open mind, especially when cultural beliefs might influence people's experiences. Focusing on the autistic savant community, particularly non-speaking individuals, Dr. Hennessy explains that these individuals often demonstrate extraordinary abilities, such as telepathy, that defy current scientific explanation. Rejecting the notion that such abilities are mere coincidence or fraud, she describes her observational methods involving prolonged, trust-building interactions rather than cold clinical testing. Dr. Hennessy highlights that the type of telepathy observed thrives in environments of emotional safety and synchrony between individuals. Her experiments have recorded remarkable telepathic accuracy, with some autistic children correctly identifying thoughts or images at rates around 95 to 97%, even under controlled conditions with visual barriers, making cheating impossible. The episode addresses the skepticism and gatekeeping faced by researchers studying telepathy, especially from the materialist scientific community. Dr. Hennessy explains that while quantum physics has already accepted phenomena like non-locality and entanglement between particles, extending these concepts to human consciousness remains controversial. She proposes that a shared consciousness, or a collective coherence developed through synchrony among humans, could offer a naturalistic explanation for telepathic communication. Drawing on primate research, where coordinated brain activity enables joint control over a robotic arm, she suggests that human brains might similarly operate within a unified waveform during telepathy, making it a totally natural and expected phenomenon. Dr. Hennessy describes detailed protocols used in her research, such as having a therapist and a non-speaking autistic child separated by a visual barrier. The therapist views randomized cards with words or numbers without showing them to the child, who then independently types or writes the identified content with astonishing accuracy. These results have been video documented for verification and peer review. Such experiments have garnered attention from other scientists, including Daryl Treffert, a renowned savant syndrome expert, who witnessed and validated similar findings. The research has been carefully designed to rule out external cues or facilitation, proving telepathy as a genuine, replicable phenomenon, at least within this population. Initially, Dr. Hennessy considered whether quantum computation within the brain might explain savant abilities. However, she now suggests that while quantum effects may play a role, the picture is more complex. She has taken an engineering approach to reverse engineer the brain as a system, emphasizing the importance of synchrony and coherence across neural networks. This approach moves beyond studying neurons or synapses in isolation and seeks to understand the brain's global operation as part of a larger, interconnected consciousness. This systemic perspective helps reconcile classical and quantum perspectives on brain function and consciousness. The discussion touches on why such extraordinary abilities might exist in some individuals, despite accompanying challenges like speech deficits or sensory sensitivities. Dr. Hennessy explains that evolutionary pressures and modern environmental changes, including diet, exposure to chemicals, electromagnetic fields, and altered microbiomes have influenced shifts in cognitive styles. While most humans rely on left-brain verbal linear thinking, many autistic individuals display enhanced right-brain intuitive visual spatial processing, which facilitates pattern recognition and holistic perception. These autistic minds represent an untapped potential for understanding alternative modes of consciousness and cognition that humans may have once all shared before cultural conditioning and schooling suppressed such capacities. A central theme is the brain's filtering systems that limit the sensory and informational input we consciously experience, helping maintain functional interaction with reality. In autism and Savant syndrome, these filters are often diminished, resulting in sensory overload, but also allowing access to richer or unconventional sources of information, including telepathic signals. Dr. Hennessy draws parallels between this phenomenon and the effects of psychedelic substances, which also reduce sensory gating by acting on receptors associated with information filtering. This reduction in filtering may reveal a broader range of perceptions, though managing this influx without becoming overwhelmed is critical for functionality. Dr. Hennessy discusses the gut microbiome's potential influence on neurological function and filtering mechanisms. She hypothesizes that imbalances in gut flora, common in autistic individuals, affect neurotransmitter metabolism, such as tryptophan pathways, producing metabolites that may mimic psychedelic compounds and influence consciousness and perception. She advocates for further research analyzing gut microbial RNA, genetics, and metabolites, alongside behavioral data to understand this system holistically. Improving gut health through diet and targeted therapies might alleviate some autistic medical comorbidities and enhance cognitive and sensory processing, thereby improving quality of life. The conversation explores how society has talked us out of innate human capacities, such as telepathy, as cultural conditioning enforces skepticism and conformity. Dr. Hennessy emphasizes the importance of recognizing humans as part of an interconnected whole and suggests that collective intelligence accessed through synchrony can surpass individual capabilities. This interconnectedness introduces a new paradigm in how humanity might engage with itself and the environment for improved cooperation and problem-solving. She critiques educational and scientific institutions for neglecting or dismissing these abilities, calling for more holistic approaches that integrate these findings. Dreams and precognition are discussed as further manifestations of the brain's ability to access information beyond conventional sensory input and linear time. Dr. Hennessy notes that during dreaming, the right hemisphere predominates, and frontal regions associated with filtering are less active, mirroring cognitive states seen in autistic individuals with telepathic abilities. This state corresponds to increased intuition and pattern recognition, which may help explain precognitive dreams. She encourages careful attention to dreams that leave a strong emotional impression or are recurrent, suggesting they may carry symbolic or literal prophetic information. This aligns with parapsychological findings on premonitions and non-local information access. Dr. Hennessy shares her own near-death and altered consciousness experiences, which profoundly influenced her worldview and belief in interconnected consciousness. She recounts her transitions from skepticism and atheism to a deeper understanding of spirituality, influenced by Eastern traditions, physics, and neuroscience. These personal experiences complement her scientific work by providing experiential insight into non-ordinary states of consciousness, reinforcing the notion that science and spiritual inquiry are not necessarily conflicting, but may describe the same underlying reality from different perspectives. The episode addresses the pushback from mainstream science against telepathy and related phenomena. Despite accumulating experimental evidence, materialist paradigms often exclude these topics from serious consideration. Dr. Hennessy stresses the need for extraordinary evidence to challenge entrenched dogma, which is why her work with autistic savants is so critical. She highlights ongoing efforts to publish research in reputable venues using terms less likely to trigger dismissal. Future work involves refining theories to connect physics, neuroscience, and consciousness while advocating ethical medical care that addresses autistic individuals' comorbidities without pathologizing their unique cognitive styles. Dr. Hennessy argues that telepathy and related abilities are inherent in all humans, especially infants, facilitating early language acquisition and social learning through a shared consciousness. Over time, cultural conditioning and neurological filtering suppress these capacities, but they remain latent and potentially re-accessible. She compares this suppression to the loss of childhood openness and urges educational and societal systems to nurture intuition, holistic thinking, and creativity rather than focusing narrowly on memorization. Emerging technologies like AI intensify the need for human cognitive evolution toward higher consciousness levels. While celebrating the cognitive gifts of autistic individuals, Dr. Hennessy addresses the severe medical and sensory challenges many face that impede their functioning and quality of life. She clarifies that embracing neurodiversity does not mean ignoring treatable medical conditions and stresses the ethical responsibility to alleviate suffering. Supporting medical interventions that improve gut health, reduce pain, and enhance regulation can empower autistic individuals to express and share their talents more fully. This balanced perspective advocates medical care that respects individuality without enforcing conformity or ignoring real suffering. Although much of Dr. Hennessy's research focuses on non-speaking autistic savants, she acknowledges that telepathic and precognitive experiences are reported across the general population and various cultural contexts. Many neurodivergent individuals and spiritual practitioners have felt validated by her work. She emphasizes that these phenomena are not exclusive to autism, but highlight capacities that society at large shares and may reawaken. This broader recognition helps reduce stigma and opens pathways for integrating these experiences into mainstream understandings of mind and reality. Dr. Hennessy proposes that insights from modern physics, such as Bell's theorem, quantum entanglement, and string theory dimensions, should be incorporated into consciousness studies to explain non-local information exchange. She critiques the disconnect between accepted physical principles and the reluctance to apply them to biological or cognitive phenomena. Her evolving theory envisions the brain as an interface navigating a multidimensional field of consciousness, rather than a standalone creator of reality. This paradigm shift would realign scientific inquiry with experiential and parapsychological data, promoting multidisciplinary collaboration. Throughout the interview, Dr. Hennessy stresses that telepathic communication depends heavily on relational factors, trust, emotional safety, and synchrony between individuals. She references primate experiments demonstrating the necessity of coordination to accomplish shared goals and draws parallels to human social brain function. This emphasis moves telepathy away from supernatural labeling toward understanding it as a natural emergent property of social neurobiology, existing within the framework of shared waveforms and systems coherence. The podcast grapples with the tension between clinical diagnosis of psychosis or mental illness and respect for individuals experiencing non-ordinary consciousness or psychic phenomena. Dr. Hennessy recounts cases where patients' beliefs could be culturally or spiritually grounded rather than pathological. She emphasizes an ethical approach that balances safety and autonomy, recognizing the meaningfulness of these experiences in individuals' lives without defaulting to medication or institutionalization. This attitude challenges psychiatry to adopt a more nuanced and person-centered approach. Dr. Hennessy's background in psychotherapy and Jungian psychology informs her view of dreams as a crucial portal into unconscious and collective realities. She explains how archetypes and symbolic content within dreams can relay information about external events, inner states, or even future occurrences. Dream states reduce frontal lobe activity, enabling access to right hemisphere intuitive processing, paralleling states seen in savants and clinical precognition. Recording and interpreting dreams are therefore valuable practices for personal and scientific exploration of consciousness. The episode touches on examples where brain injuries or conditions like dementia have paradoxically unlocked latent skills, including mathematical or artistic talents with savant-like intensity. These phenomena suggest the existence of untapped neural potentials normally suppressed by filtering systems. Although the precise mechanisms remain unclear, these cases reinforce the idea that the brain's capacity for extraordinary abilities is real but gated, supporting the hypothesis that altering these filters, whether via injury, biochemical modulation, or other means, can reveal hidden potentials. Dr. Hennessy reflects on how her work, as showcased in the telepathy tapes and other media, has resonated with a diverse audience, including those marginalized for their non-conforming cognitive experiences. This outreach fosters validation and reduces stigma for those who have felt isolated for their intuitive or psychic experiences. By bringing scientific attention to these abilities, her research encourages greater societal acceptance of neurodiversity and a broader re-examination of what constitutes normal human cognition. Finally, the conversation acknowledges that recent environmental factors, ranging from widespread chemical exposure and dietary shifts to technological changes like Wi-Fi and increased cesarean deliveries, have contributed to changes in neurodevelopment and autism prevalence. While these factors introduce challenges, they simultaneously provide a critical window into alternative brain functioning and consciousness. Understanding this complex interplay between environment, biology, and cognition offers hope for improved interventions and a deeper grasp of human potential.